thanks for tuning into Power Athlete Radio. This week, the crew answers your questions from Instagram. Questions such as how to activate your front delts during bench press, eating with abandon when you're full, and what to do if you find yourself playing tennis without pockets. Luke, Tex, and John provide some pretty creative hints on where to store those balls during the match. While this episode is packed with a ton of good questions and informative answers, some of the best info, in my opinion, is at the tail end. Gym owners are often tasked with the most difficult challenge of pleasing the masses while doing no harm. And all of this comes at a time when the novice athlete likens optimal results with feeling absolutely torched after every training session. If you've listened to us before, our response to this should come as no surprise. More often than not, members are in it for the short-term, superficial results and will play that tune until their goddamn wheels fall off. But for the few who view strength as a multi-year endeavor, they know that training is as much an exercise of patience as it is as forging the physical manifestation. To those power athletes, we salute you. This is episode 216.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is that time of week again where Luke and Tex bring you a very special episode of Power Athlete Radio, the premier podcast in strength and conditioning. Tex, I'm excited about our guest today. I'm not going to lie. I mean, you know, it's very rarely we get to hear him speak.
Well, I will say this. We just got a comment on Instagram that we posted that people just cheersed us because, you know, we bring out the best in guests.
Yes.
Even though their subjects may be dry or they're scientists, and we just bring out the best in them. So I'm excited to have our guests, and we hope to, you know, maybe get them talking.
Yeah, stir up conversation. Today we have John Wellborn. John is a 10-year NFL veteran, 100 career starts, 10 playoff appearances. Eagles, Chiefs, and Patriots.
You guys honestly have the worst senses of humor. And you know what? Tex's straight delivery is not very straight because he's laughing the whole time.
I know.
But they don't know that.
He's the new Cali.
What's kind of funny is Tex just learned what humor was last week, so we're helping to help him develop it.
Help me help you.
Help me help you, Tex.
So,
you know, when we found Tex as a young boy in Bangladesh and we brought him in and nurtured him at Luke's bosom to learn the craft of power athlete, and he's really grown into a, 5'7".
Tex was an aspiring sheepdog, running around the fields
of Bangladesh.
Real shaggy.
You know, what's weird is Luke packed him in his backpack from Sri Lanka, Sri Lanka. He brought him back in his backpack.
Yeah, the second pack, like the second pocket. You know, not like the laptop pocket.
I believe that I found Luke. Luke didn't find me.
Explain.
Just one of those philosophy things you wouldn't understand.
Because you can't back it up.
Is that kind of like the
So you
glass
just
is half
tag it?
full, glass is half empty type of thing?
Well, the glass is always half full.
Yeah, unless it's not.
You just need a bigger glass.
Or a smaller
one.
glass.
All right, people, let's get on it. So, any updates from Power Athlete Land, Tex? What are we even doing? John and I have been, just watching puppy videos, and, John's trying to find both photos. And what have you been doing?
Managing the academy experience. So we have a lot of, we have 100 people going through our first semester of the Power Athlete Academy.
The methodology course.
Methodology course, level 1. So level 1 is a key term throw out there. So just a general introduction to what is athleticism. Training principles and really prepping people to apply strength and conditioning programs or walk into a gym and just have an immediate impact coaching. So it's interesting to see the wide array and range of questions that we're receiving or comments of people either enlightened or asking us to explain further or looking to it.
I read every comment and I love them.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, Tex, here's an interesting question. We have 53 comments on our post asking for Q&A today, right? If those people had satisfactorily completed the Power Athlete Methodology Level 1 course, how many of these questions would be answered for them?
How many comments? 56?
57.
57. Yeah,
He's
beat me
58.
to it.
I know. My timing is way better than yours. I can read you like a book that was read last week and dictated to, listened to on books on tape. That's how
It's
well
58
I can read
now. I can do this all day, though.
So our next semester 002, is opening up August 1st for registration.
Well, we have so there is a pre-registration sign up, and there's already like 60 people on there. So those people are going to get first whack at registration. So people, if you want to get in on this, go to academy.powerathletehq.com, get your name on the list, put your email in there, all right? And then you will be contacted in the order that your call was received. And that's that, Jack. So I guess, prelude, Tex, we did a fucking hip selfie video in the new Power Athlete facility that bay doors are getting installed today and tomorrow, right, Jay Willie?
That's the dirty rumor.
And then from there, we start to reassemble all the equipment that I fucking disassembled, which is going to be it's going to go smooth, John.
Dude,
I can't even tell you how smooth this fucking op's going to go.
When you texted me, hey, I want to come open the container and grab some stuff, maybe some sleds and ever, I just was like, don't even do it.
Well, we got a football in Texas fucking pelvis model. So, like,
Well,
I think I would consider it a score.
Pelvis Presley?
So when I opened those doors, we scored some Alico.
They're sick, yeah.
Yeah, we scored some Alico plates here in Austin. I don't know, maybe this guy robbed a gym. Who knows? I mean, but we found some really nice competition Alico steel plates.
For like 50 cents a pound, right?
Yeah, it was something crazy, like the type of
madness.
It was actually No Colon BT sent me this like link on Craigslist, like, Wellborn, you have to go get these, and we went and got them. So when I opened the doors to our pod that's holding all of our gym equipment hostage, getting that stuff in there, I was thinking to myself, first of all, how the fuck did Luke pack this thing? And two, didn't we have to divide that into two?
Yeah, we did. Remember, it was what you are forgetting is I Legoed, or not Legoed, but Tetrised my stuff on top of all the heavy shit.
That's right.
So then, but then we did put some gym stuff in there, but we fucking put it in the other pod. It was just
so that's all gym stuff. But yeah, when I opened it up, I thought to myself, dude, there's, first of all, once that stuff's coming out, it ain't going back in. And
right.
Yeah, so we got to figure out a better delivery system. Like, I want to just try to get like a forklift or something gnarly to like just drop it off. So
easy. I'm a fan of manual labor, but I know why work hard if you can work smart, right?
Well, I mean, we could do it our normal way, which would be the most single difficult way. Like, hey, let's get a trailer and then just load this stuff up plate by plate. But like, and that's probably the way we'll do it. But
well, first it would be like, hey, let's go out to like eat a lot of meat the night before and a lot of wine, and then wake up real early and do it.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden it'll hit like 4 o'clock where it's like 110 degrees here, and we'll be like, fuck, I'm tired. So.
So that's our mission. Harry, you're in on that, right?
Texas is, so is Gonzalez. A bunch of people have hit me up and been like, yo, man, when you guys reassemble the gym, call me. I'm like, don't worry. I will have you on speed dial, dude, because we got a lot. I mean, we have thousands of pounds of not only plates, monolift, bench, bars. Dude, we got our conference table. We have a reverse hyper, belt squat. Mm-hmm. And we have all of those stand-up pillars for doing pull-ups, which we are going to repurpose into
standing desk,
or bunk beds for techs.
Oh no, I'm getting my own place, John. I'm growing up.
Oh really?
Yeah, we went apartment shopping yesterday.
Ooh,
our girl Jill showed us the weight room. It's got a step mill
and dumbbells up to 80.
Dumbbells up to 80.
Honestly, I made my decision right there.
All right.
Was Jill a looker?
She was a great saleswoman with a great personality. All right, let's hit our first question. So, y'all talked about eating meat before unloading the containers. So let's start with a meat question.
Check that. Let's do it.
So, when it comes to smoking a brisket, do y'all believe in getting the meat to a certain temp and then wrapping it, or do you keep it bare and build that bark?
Luke, you go first.
All right, so I haven't done the fucking brisket yet because I'm too big of a pussy. And let me tell you why. So John gave me his fucking medium egg, which, thank you, John. I'm very appreciative. And I can't figure it out still. I'm still in like amateur phase working on ribs, and I'm working on chickens. So I'm no good on brisket and also my foray into barbecuing and smoking came in California where they don't do brisket. It's tri-tip.
Yeah.
Right? So I could tell you that we just kind of pull tri-tip up the temp, and then you let it sit for 30 minutes, and then you cut into that sucker against the grain, and that's pretty good. But I haven't done a brisket yet, John.
So with brisket, I find that, at least on the egg with the smoker, is I get it to the temperature that I want, and then there's kind of a slide scale. Like, we've gone to a bunch of different places here in Austin, and I always ask them how long they smoke their brisket. I've got anywhere from 15 to 16.
Like 22?
22
hours.
Yeah,
like at Egg Fest, those guys were like, we've been here for 22 hours.
Yeah, they were like 19 to 22 hours at like 190 to 200. So,
and they kept it on. They didn't pull it and wrap it.
Nah, so they with the egg, it's better just to leave that sucker on there and just let it go. They also have a that what was it, the egg thing? Then
the fucking autopilot.
Genie. Yeah, the egg genie, which I normally wouldn't have bought, other than the fact that we were at Egg Fest and we got kind of hammered. And so then I bought it.
So for listeners, Egg Fest is out here in Austin or in Dripping Springs area. And it's Big Green Egg is the smoker that John has, and I got one. And the people they enter to compete on the best fucking barbecue. And you show up, you pay $35, all you can eat, all you can drink, and you walk around and you sample people's creations. And there's everything from like, listen, guys, I know this isn't paleo, so just listen to me. We didn't have any. But remember they had that brisket mac and cheese?
Yep.
Right? Which looked really fucking good, but I know the consequences, so I respectively passed. There's dudes doing like fucking apple fritter or something, and like it
was amazing.
And then all the way to brisket, wings, Korean barbecue style, like everything, tacos, seafood, shrimp.
Yeah, it was amazing.
But so we just fucking smashed a bunch of food there, and Jay Willie got this autopilot thing that we got to test out. So we're not that good. I don't know. I guess final answer is leave it on, let it go, don't wrap it. But I know there's a lot of, like on the Big Green Egg forums, because I've read about them, a lot of people pull and wrap, even with ribs. They'll go, 3, 2, 1, wrap for an hour.
I like to do steaks like that. So what I'll do is I'll cook sear a steak real hot. And so I'll try to do like 3 minutes aside, and then I basically put it in, leave it in, and I just kind of turn everything off, and I let it bake. And then when I pull it out, I wrap it up in tin foil, and I let the meat rest. I try to go like a 1-to-1 for however long it was on the grill is how long I let it rest. And I find that that's usually pretty good for me. So I tend to only wrap meat. That's and I'll wrap turkey and poultry, but for the most part with the brisket, I just let it go. And then, but it's always nice to like wrap something up in tin foil to let it sit, and you should always let your meat rest.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I fucking we back in SoCal, we used to do prime rib dinner with like me and Ash would do it with JR and E, and I fucked it up one time, and like I had it running too hot, and the thermometer wasn't. I fucked it up. The thermometer was on the bone. I pulled it, just checked it, and I'm like, holy fuck, I'm an hour ahead of schedule. So I did pull it after that, wrap it, put it in a cooler, and let it sit for like 2 hours, and it actually turned out really good. So that's all I got for you on that one. Who asked that, Tex? Past that.
Well, and also when we were out at Summer Strong, one of the guys, maybe he's listening, maybe he's not. He has a company called Tacticalories. And he gave me a bunch of seasonings, and I've been using them, and they're pretty amazing. So if you guys want to check them out, look them out on Instagram. Check out Tacticalories.
There you go, people. He was a cool dude.
Super cool. Original CrossFit football power athlete. Got up there. He was, there, I think, with Brandon Lilly. But as soon as he saw me, like, pulled away and was like, dude, I'm a power athlete. This is what I live. He's like, dude, you guys, like, a super cool cat. And we got to connect, and just, OG from back in the day when Power Athlete Field Strong was on WordPress. And actually, I think he had all of those originally. He's like, I still have them. And I'm like, Luke, he has all the stuff. And
that's against terms of service. We're coming after you.
Luke's...
And you're like, no, he gave us seasoning. I'm like, all right, you're good.
Yeah, he traded us seasoning. We're fine. It's fucking good. So we've been using that.
Let's stick with nutrition here. And you mentioned the CrossFit football seminar, one of the OG guys. So we got a question from Johnny Velocity. So in the CrossFit football seminar, I remember Luke saying that the PA nutrition performance protocol is not for optimal health or aesthetics. Would you guys have any tweaks to the performance diet for someone with a history of heart disease in their immediate family? My dad passed away at 54 from a heart attack, and his mom did the same in the early 60s. I want to be able to play sports, train hard, but I also need to be alive to do both.
Well,
isn't the heart disease like carb sensitivity, John? I mean, it's loaded because...
Yeah, I mean, this stuff's way more complicated than... It's not one-to-one. It's not like, if you eat carbohydrates or you have high triglycerides, these are going to be problems. If you feel that you are at risk for heart disease, the single best thing you should do is there is a test that you can do through the Cleveland Clinic for heart disease that will list all of your risk factors. It's a test we do with Dr. Inklet. I have some genetic predispositions for some heart disease issues, and I got the most comprehensive panel is through the Cleveland Clinic. We ran it, and I had none of the markers for heart disease. So even though I had a genetic propensity towards it, I did not have any markers. At which point, that doesn't mean go off and just fucking be an asshole. But what it gives you is a peace of mind that, the trajectory, or at least what you're doing today, is working. I think the problem becomes, and this is what we're really running into with nutrition, health, performance, all these things, is that everybody goes, well, I have a parent that died of this, so then technically I have some genetic predisposition. What should I do? I think you should get as much information as you can. I think that really comes from getting some blood work done. It's just like supplements. Your buddy says, oh, I took this supplement, I felt great. You take it, you don't feel great. It might be that he was deficient in something where you weren't, and it didn't make much of a difference. So, but unfortunately, we don't really look at it like, hey, let me get some testing. Let me see where I'm deficient. Let me see where I'm positive. Let me see, and let me try to create optimal. We just kind of do off of the, hey, bro, this works really good. You should take it. Well, if this bro says I should take it, Mm-hmm. And so it just kind of goes back. But I think, especially with heart disease, there's a panel you can get done through Kazenta and Tom Incledon through the Cleveland Clinic, or you can even request it through your own doctor. So the Cleveland Clinic.
Yeah, and I guess for listeners, in short, if you just go Google John Wellborn, tell me what to eat, you're going to see eat with abandon, meat, fish, fowl, seafood, eggs, veggies, roots, tubers, and bulbs, coconut, olive oil, animal fats, and what am I missing, Tex? Avocado. And then herbs and spices, right? So when we say eat with abandon, eat till you're full, right? Eat when you're hungry. So I guess this is always, there's two caveats with this approach. One, don't be weird. That has context. You're going to have to go to the event and seminar to understand that. Number two is this is a starting point, right? And it's typically for young, go-hard athletes who are playing sports and training their fucking balls off. And it works pretty good as a starting point. Now, if you're an older, late adopter to training, exactly like John said, most of what we're talking about is nutrient-dense foods, okay? So maybe get an allergy test done, right? So find out things that aren't going to be, trigger some sort of inflammatory response due to allergy. But for the most part, these things are non-inflammatory foods or reduce inflammation. So you get started on that. You start eating. Go get some blood work done. Then retest your blood work saying, let's say, isocaloric, balanced, right, nutrient-dense foods. And if shit isn't right, then you got to start pulling some levers, right? And the cool thing about the Dr. Tom approach, which John and I do, is we have his supplement packs. So he finds out your deficiencies. They give you recommendations on to shift what you're eating, to change your activity. If you don't know how, but I've got Jay Welly on my side, the fucking wizard. And then they also give you supplements to, I guess, how would you say, John? Like, I guess supplement your fucking diet to get your macros or your micronutrient balance in line, right?
I mean,
so I get, but the point is like test retest, right? You got to be diligent about getting.
Part of the problem is that when they looked at all the research, the people that ate the most varied type of diets, or the most variety, that Roy G. Biv, the red, orange, green, blue, mm-hmm. green, blue, indigo, violet, the Roy G. Biv ate for color, that ate the the biggest diversity of diet, tended to be the healthiest people because they had the most kind of opportunity to consume the most amount of nutrients.
And they could tolerate it too. So it was like, it's both two-way street. And that was Dr. Tom's knowledge bomb to me at our last symposium. Among all the amazing shit he said, the one-liner he hit is exactly what you said. That the healthiest people eat the widest variety of foods, right? And that means you can tolerate it, so you're healthy, and you're getting the most variety of nutrients because you can tolerate it. It's like a back and forth two-way relationship, right?
So, I mean, that's why, highly restrictive diets don't tend to be, very sustainable or tend to really be all that healthy. I mean, I think if you can, find some issues that you have and you kind of exclude them and they make you feel better. I mean, I always ask people, when you start talking about diet, are there any foods that you eat that as soon as you get done, you basically have some form of violent diarrhea or something?
Yeah, it's called Serrano's, and it's by Texas Future Apartment. I got fucking Serrano bombed last night.
Well, then you know what you do? You don't go back.
Well, I'm going to go back just to double check if it was that.
I'd like to stick with nutrition, and then let's get into some training. So Luke mentioned nutrient density and food timing. So we have Ray_Reed, READ, asks conflicting information on nutrient timing and simple tactic of eating when hungry. Is one better than the other? I ask because I find that when following certain macros, I have to add in extra food to hit my macro, even though I might not be hungry.
All right, so this is Ray Reed. I don't know if this is the guy someone asked this on, I think, Field Strong, John, didn't they? Or one of the feeds. They said, hey, I'm following the leaning protocol. I went to the seminar. The guy said, eat when you're hungry, eat till you're full. But now I'm doing the leaning protocol, and the way it's laid out, it's forcing me to eat while I'm not hungry. Well, here's the thing. Here's my, again, suspicion. This guy has a full-time job, right? He's a late adopter, and he gets an hour of training a day, right? Versus what we're talking about, again, at the former CrossFit, the seminar formerly known as CrossFit Football, and the SSA seminar currently is you're working with an athlete who practices 90 minutes a day and probably trains 90 minutes a day, right? And is and in between that is hitting extreme bouts of intensity that you can't replicate in training. You're going to be fucking hungry like a savage. So what we tend to see for the professionals who are sitting at a desk for 8 hours a day in a car for an hour each way to the office and get maybe 90 minutes of solid training in, they're still relatively sedentary and they're under eating. So what I would say is I just challenge this guy because I'm the same way. I used to go before we did any of our challenges, like I would go 12 hours without eating and probably hit maybe 2,800 calories a day. But then you knock me up to 3,800 the first 2 weeks. It's like, oh, I'm force feeding. But then you get into a rhythm where you get a higher training effect out of your training. And all of a sudden you have the fucking bloodlust. You're like, you are starving. So the macro combination thing is a tricky thing. What we have in our leaning protocol, our bulking protocol, and our performance protocol, these are things that we have personally tested and have worked well for us. So that's what we've put out. And I guess that's the caveat. This isn't a one-size-fits-all approach. But I would be willing to bet, my man, jump in, just give it a whirl for 4 weeks, be consistent, all right? Eat the right foods, and I bet you that you're going to start to learn how to be hungry. Like, it's just going to happen, and it's going to be uncontrollable, especially if you really ratchet up the training. So, I don't know. John, any experience on that? Like...
the micronutrient timing thing is kind of interesting. I've really kind of gone back and forth with kind of like both camps on this. I mean, I know like, the standard, at least what I talked with John Meadows about years ago, is he said that the 2 or the 3 most important windows in terms of feeding and really macronutrient timing was the pre, the peri, and the post-workout meal. Like what you consume before, what you consume during, and then what you consume after. It was by far 80% of it. But then I remember I was training early in the morning and I didn't necessarily have the, want to get up at 4 a.m. to eat a meal so I could be at the gym by 5:30 and then consume more, more of something during and then race and get done. And it just didn't work out for me. So then he was like, well, just ditch the pre-workout and, just consume during and then after. And, I got to the point where even the peri, the during workout kind of, way we set up the shake was kind of still a little too much. I mean, I historically have always liked to play and work and train on an empty stomach. As soon as I eat, I start to feel a little lethargic. So I ended up ditching that and just kind of sticking it that way. And I think I made similar gains. So I think it kind of goes, really for you as the individual, really what time you're training. I mean, if you're a early morning, early adopter like we are, where we get up, and it's, I'm at the gym, hopefully out of bed by 5 and, there by 5:30 to 6 o'clock. I really don't consume anything I'll drink some coffee on the way to the gym. And then I'm not big on the whole intra-workout shake. And then I'll eat after. If you're later in the day, I think you have a little more ability to fine tune that. And at the end of the day, like, what does your performance look like? I know certain
that's what
people.
I was going to get at. Yeah.
Yes, certain people, like the intra-workout shake is huge. For me, it makes me feel like I want to vomit.
Yeah, and then he's getting at is like, hey, I'm not super hungry, but my plan is telling me to eat more when I'm not hungry.
Well,
and I think like if you're eating more, go fucking harder go as hard as you fucking can in the training. People are kind of interesting in that I've over the years as I've done, diets and worked with people, I've seen 2 types of people. There's either people that have no concept of how much they're eating because they're overeating, or there's people that have no concept what they're doing is they're undereating. And I've been both.
Well, yeah, but if you habitually undereat, what your body does is you do the Luke Summers where you don't eat. Mm-hmm. And then you fucking eat enough for like a small, like the small village that we found techs at in Bangladesh.
As an aspiring sheepdog.
Yeah, aspiring sheepdog. You'll eat that much. And I've seen Luke consume, 20,000 calories at one meal. It's true.
For an appetizer, bitches.
When we were in Utah, we went to this eating challenge, and I watched Luke drink 40 ounces of whole milk, a dozen eggs, a pound of bacon, and like hash browns in this fucking massive thing. Killed it, and was looking around like, "Oh, do you need help with that?" I got murdered on like the appetizer. I was like, "I can't drink this."
Just threw
I
up in
remember
my
that.
mouth.
I got the picture.
I got the picture too. But you know, like at the end of the day, this stuff is general recommendations. It's up to you as an individual to fine tune these things and really see what you work. I mean, you know, for me, there's an X amount of calories. I know that, if I am anywhere under, 11 to 12 calories per pound of body weight, the weight's going to come down. I try never to eat more than, 15 or 16 because I don't really need to try to put on any mass. How much you're training. I mean, there's just a lot of factors, but I think if you're not eating enough, you probably either need to start training more or, figure a way.
And as someone who was a habitual under-eater, it takes time to learn how to get hungry. Like for you to get hungry, it does. It takes like 3 or 4 weeks. That's just kind of my thing on that, because I went from habitual under-eating to the bulk, Tex. You know what I mean? Where you are force feeding. But anyways, let's barrel forward on this one.
Let's barrel forward. I got a great training question for us.
Shoot.
This is from CMPC 83. What's up, fellas? Love the podcast, products, and content. You guys set the standard. Thank you.
We love you.
Sorry, I'm private. I'm boring. Follow me anyways. 1 week of lean and able. Any suggestions on how to correct front delt domination when doing bench pressing?
Tex, just go. I can see you chewing your tongue over there. Let's go.
Well, unprivate your account, put up some bench press videos, and let's check this thing out.
You got to follow
That's my first
him.
thought. No.
Follow him.
No. I got a standard. I can't cap 400, but so I would already say you're messed up. So week 1, you're having problems with this. That problem existed before you even began the lean and able training protocol. So what we would do is essentially try to open you up. I know the objective and why the product of crossover symmetry is having so much success, because a lot of the training athletes that are coming to that are push, right? So either it's a shit ton of push-ups, a shit ton of overhead pressing, not a lot of bench pressing, but they find themselves in internal rotation. So when they come to our seminar and they learn how to floor press or heavy horizontal press for the first time, they're jammed up and have the same issue you're having, and they can't figure out why. Well, they've overdeveloped in that position. So we need to just introduce the horizontal pull, maybe throw in some extra H pulls, or just make your own crossover symmetry, right? Get some mini bands and just really start to open your chest up. And then there's always my favorite movement. Luke's simulating right now, the Jimmy Buffett.
I'm not simulating, I'm executing.
Right, so we do have a demo video on our YouTube channel. And when you get a chance, check out Power Athlete HQ on the YouTubes.
Asked and answered. There you go. We got you on the follow, buddy.
And, all right, my next question. So sticking with training and internal rotation. So recently you had a post on internal rotation with deadlifting. This was a little video, Masters of Movement series that we got going that Luke put out. All right, but external rotation with squatting. How does this apply to other movements like kettlebell swings or ollie lifting? What about running, lunging, or prowler, etc.? When would you focus on one or the other? Thanks.
Well, I guess the point of the internal rotation on the pull specifically is to get that posterior chain dominance, right? Start to tap into that posterior chain. Now, it depends on what you look like, right? We're sprinting with Mr. Harry Shaw today. What did his sprints look like, Tex?
A bad Steven Seagal.
A bad Steven Seagal upper body. And
Is there ever a good Steven Seagal?
Yeah, it's hard to kill.
I was going to say the Kurt Russell movie in which he died in the first 10 minutes, and then we got to enjoy Kurt Russell.
What was it?
Executive
Get
Decision.
off my plane.
That's the wrong movie, but that's basically what we were saying.
Who, Donald Trump?
No, Harrison
right.
Ford.
Oh, Harrison Ford.
So it depends on what your natural position is. Now, people are going to be like, oh, the pelvis and the femur and how it's built, people need to be externally rotated on their squat. Well, listen, people, Here's what we want you to look like. Just normal. We want you to look like your legs are pointing forward, your toes, your ankles, your knees, and your hips are all kinetically linked in a forward position so that those hinge joints work the way they're supposed to when you sprint, and you're not externally rotated like Harry when he's doing a push-up start, right? So that's what we're trying to do, is just teach good position, or as our good friend Ralph Ruiz would say at the seminar, reset your default. And in order to reset a default position, we're going to have to temporarily overcook some things. So one guy on a squat, we may say, hey, focus on internal rotation. But one girl on a squat, we may say what? Hey, focus on external rotation. Same thing, deadlift, same thing, lunging. It just depends. What we're looking for is a neutral position on your squat, step, and lunge.
Yeah, the idea that the knee treks over the instep, and however
Exactly.
we get you there, it might be internal or external rotation. The problem becomes is that everybody's asking for a one-step cue for everything. Well, wait a minute, this guy said internal, this guy said external. Well, we don't know who they're coaching. We don't know who you are. So, I mean, while we all are the same decaying matter, we all are very, unique little snowflakes in a lot of ways.
That's philosophy, Tex. You wouldn't understand.
Yeah, and just kind of where our thinking's at. Carl on powerathletehq.com. I'm all about plugs today, guys. He's got a great article on kinetic pairs, kinetic chains, and kinetic systems, right? So when people are looking at the body, they're most likely looking at pairs, right? What's my hip joint look like, right? So hip joint in the pelvis and how that reacts, or just knee action. They're just looking at the knee. We're taking one step back, right, and looking at chains and applying coaching cues to movement chains, kinetic chains, with the overall goal to affect a kinetic system, right? How our body moves. That's why we got those primal movements. That's why they're broken into 7 versus throwing in carrying or throwing in rotation, which a couple of academy questions thrown out. Like Boyle's got rotation, he's got carrying as his fundamental movements. Well, we're thinking bigger picture, right? Step back for systems, then working into chains in form of our coaching and our cueing. But we're still affecting pairs when a lot of people are just looking at pairs.
Mm-hmm. Did we answer the question? I kind of forget.
I think we gave him too much, but,
So the point is, I mean, for this guy, there are other coaches that we are friends with. They have their systems, Boyle, for example, but you also have to understand the end game. We're trying to best prepare people to move through space seamlessly and effortlessly, right? To tap into those fundamental movement patterns that make up human movement, aka Tex, primal movements. Okay, so I guess that's the difference. But if you're trying to get someone to squat as deep as possible, and you have to take into consideration hip anatomy because they need to dive under a barbell to catch a snatch or something, things might be different, right? So I will, we have to concede on that concept, but that's not what we're looking to do.
Or we don't, or someone is naturally set up with their hip joints and things like that, but then guess what? They're playing football. They're playing basketball. And you know what we have to do? We have to prepare them best for football and basketball.
Right.
So if that's changing their squat or getting them to maximize, right, their force closure versus their perfect form closure to prepare them for their demand of their sport, then that's what we're going to do. Like, we're just using squat as a means to an end, so we're going to get them in the right, proper toes forward position, right? Despite if that's optimal for a number or how their body's set up, it's optimal for them to start and play and have success. So that's what we're going to do. And that's why we have the universal athletic position.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, John. Okay, John, I want to get you on this next question. I do like it. So this is from Andrew Batch. What is protocol for new athletes starting a new strength and conditioning program just coming off of season? Should it be a hypertrophy based in order to get adjusted for volume and set up future high intensity, low volume phases? Currently, I have lacrosse players coming off season and started them with some unilateral work, step-ups, lunges, paired with bilateral hip hinging, squats, and deads. Keeping it simple. Thank you. Great looking gym.
Who's Jim?
I don't know we have no gym around here. But.
Oh, okay.
Yes and no. Personally, I like the idea of adding some hypertrophy, a little bit of muscle mass, but we tend to do it in a little bit of different way. Instead of hitting just kind of a standard hypertrophy template, I looked at doing a little lactic acid threshold type stuff like we do at the Power Athlete Metabolic Conditioning Cycle. I'd like to try to build some, both metabolic and anaerobic, glycolytic, aerobic bases. And, we tend to do that with some higher rep ranges and some timed reps. We'll do, like 3 sets of 10, 60 seconds rest, and we'll rotate through, 8 to 10 different movements. And we'll do those, circuits called, similar to Nebraska circuits, we call the Power Athlete Metabolic Conditioning Cycles. We'll do those 3 times a week, starting at 2 and then going up to 3, playing with, reps, volume, different things, really just trying to drive some, some good, androgen profile and then get them ready to do it. So I think there definitely needs to be some kind of taper in kind of introductory phase early in the off season. And then, think about it as building a platform at which to build something on. Mm-hmm. Instead of kind of doing, heavy kind of bodybuilder-ish hypertrophy type work, I would really just kind of think more of a, lighter to medium, type loading with really short rest periods and try to do something like that, try to build a little conditioning in.
And to check back to our kinetic pairs versus kinetic change, a lot, if you're just tapping into a typical hypertrophy or you're plugging a bodybuilding program, it's going to be focused on pairs. While the Power Athlete Metabolic System is push and pulls, and it's a lot of different chains, right? So some complex movements. So a little different approach there, but it's accomplishing the goal you want to, but focusing on athleticism.
Do we take into consideration athlete life cycle, right? If these are freshman boys, does it look something a little more like Bedrock, John? Or do you still think you put in that 8 to 10 week metabolic circuit?
I like the metabolic circuit. I would always, habitually, I've always used something like that, but we've also done, some Tabata stuff and started, doing Versa climbers and just doing some kind of lactic acid threshold type movements. I just find doing things like that early on really sets the stage and kind of primes everybody for the heavy work. The one thing that I really noticed is, while everybody wants to train heavy all the time, you can periodize intensity by adjusting reps. So, obviously you're not going to be able to do 10 reps as heavy as you're able to do a single or a double. So I think finding that way, and then also by cutting rest periods down to 60 seconds, 45 seconds, 1 minute, you can really kind of figure out what the weights are. And so you can kind of back into the loading. I just found, I historically always liked to do something like the Power Athlete Metabolic Conditioning Cycles, which are similar in kind of methodology to something like CrossFit. The problem is there needs to be some movement away from that type of training and getting into some heavier loading, a lot more speed development, a lot more max effort type stuff, because a lot of sports played like that.
Mm-hmm. Boom.
All right. So changing perspectives on the athlete, what program do you recommend for the tactical athlete? I've been a longtime follower of Feel Strong and I love it. Is he on the right program for a tactical athlete?
I think so. Field, for a tactical athlete, you're going to get some, some constantly, varied, just a little bit more unknown. So I think as long as you can understand what your specific mission is, I think something like Field Strong fits really well because, Wednesdays and Saturdays are very flexible for, people going out and wanting to do some longer things. That was a big question I always had, because we do a lot of heavy weights, we do a lot of dynamic work, a lot of sprints, a lot of jumps. And people said, hey, for my job, I got to be able to run 3 miles. I got to be able to do X, Y, and Z. So I built those days for Wednesday and Saturday for them to say, hey, you know what? If you got to go out and ruck and run and do something longer, these are the days that I want you to do it. And it's worked very, very well. I think at some point, though, if you are a tactical athlete, you are going to have to do something past GPP. You're going to have to get into the realm of SPP. Anything that you do in the weight room and anything that you're going to do with something like Field Strong is going to be a GPP-based program, general physical preparedness. As a tactical athlete, law enforcement, whatever it looks like in terms of soldiers, you have a very, very specific mission requirement that does not look like something done in the weight room. You're going to either have to ruck something heavy, you're going to have to move through different terrains, you're going to have to fight, you're going to have to do shooting, whether it be combat type shooting or clearing houses, any of those type of endeavors. And I think just going in the weight room and expecting to do field strong and then thinking magically that you're going to be proficient in everything is just fucking pie in the sky bullshit. So I think as long as you look at your training like we would training professional athletes, that, what we do within the confines of the gym, or, what we do, really what I do, is GPP based, and that you have to transition into an SPP, which would be that specific physical preparation. Now all of a sudden here I am, full kit, running, gunning, being able to do these things and developing the capacity you need to be able to do that. Unfortunately, all the thrustering and med balls and wall balls and 400-meter runs and kettlebell swings isn't going to prepare you for that. So as long as you're go into it understanding that and don't think that if I magically do these workouts I don't have to do the other shit, I think you're fine.
Yeah, and I mean, in terms of our offering, Field Strong is going to be your best bet. And maybe, as you do venture and have to scale back Field Strong and get into more some of that SPP stuff, that's where a lot of the dynamic movement prep stuff would be beneficial as well on the dynamic movement prep program we have out there. Because the proficiency, and correct me if I'm wrong, Lieutenant Kucharik, who's sitting here over there, Ben is here visiting, but you'd still need to move through space. Right. And that's one of the biggest fallacies of a lot of the fitness programs out there. Or not fallacies, but what would you call it, Tex? Limitations?
Deficiencies?
Opportunities? Let's take a spin on it.
Holes.
Gaps. The holes in a lot of this stuff is their single plane, single movement pattern. Right? So it's primal X, sagittal plane. So
period.
End of sentence. Period. So
literally,
Field Strong is going to have more planes of movement. Dynamic movement prep is going to put you through all planes of motion. So it's building that spatial awareness so that you can execute your specific skills all through space, right?
So
take it, Tex.
Another tactical athlete question here from the Spartan Fireman. Best trunk, apples have cores, exercises for tactical athletes. Trying to protect my back as best I can.
I think when you look at developing your trunk, you have to look at 3 different planes of motion. So you have to think about a sagittal, frontal, and a transverse plane. Mm-hmm. So for me, I think a rotational med ball throw, for me especially, you could do a rotational med ball throw. You can also do Russian twists for the sagittal. For something like, for transverse. For the sagittal, I really like med ball to toes. So you're laying flat on your back and you're basically dynamically pulling a single leg up to a med ball. And I really like that for the hip flexor and also developing that lower trunk. And then for the frontal, I like basically doing ball slams. So we have rotational. Like a rotational, it's kind of a transverse, but not really, but it's actually where you're facing straight ahead, and then you actually throw the med ball or the slam ball to your side. I think we call them. I think it's rotational, but it's not really. It's kind of frontal.
It's a multiplane.
Yeah.
I think between those two, what I found with a lot of trunk stuff, there's this kind of idea of slow and controlled isometric holds. I think you have to do something extremely dynamic for your trunk, especially if you are going to be in a situation where you're going to have to fight and move and do some things. So I really like that type of stuff.
And then, but you would pair it with the ISOs, right?
Yes.
Dead bugs, pillars, all.
That's where you'd build all your stability. So
right.
For us, especially, I'd like a lot of isometric type work, especially early in our training, like in our warm ups. It really helps for us to fix, posture and position and start activating these muscles and developing, because you think, V-centric, concentric, isometric contractions. So just doing some basic isometric holds followed by dynamic movement in our opening deal. And then when I get into doing a lot of trunk work, especially at the end, I like a lot of dynamic movement. I like a lot of heavy throws and a lot of type stuff. The other big one too, which is we're starting to put a lot more into the program, just because I started seeing the it paying dividends, was the heavy sandbag carry. Really having somebody pick up something heavy, brace, and then start walking and moving with it. I remember talking with Stu McGill a couple of years ago. We had him on the podcast, but just offline. And Stu said that one of the best ways to fix dysfunction and back pain was doing heavy sandbag carries. And I asked him why, and he said people don't know how to brace because we don't really do heavy farm work anymore. We're not really doing a lot of manual labor. And he goes, think about, picking up, bags of concrete, bags, something heavy,
2 big
bracing
bags
it,
of sand,
and then walking with it. And you develop, task-specific tension that can effectively help with back pain. So, we also do, some interesting stuff. We're doing some cross-body crawl, like bear crawl with pushes that are really good too for fixing that. So, but, mixing up isometric holds and something dynamic is always pretty good.
All right, so I got this. Could be a athlete question or a tactical athlete question. That's why I'm bringing it up now. So this is from Anderson, Matt Anderson, physio out of South Carolina. What would a program look like for return to sport? Let's say football after the ACL repair. That's example, but this could be anything. As the athlete transitions from rehab to more of a performance focus. I know, tough to give any specifics. Maybe how rehab folks can integrate some of the Power Athlete trunk stuff. I think that's our new term, trunk stuff.
Trunk stuff.
And primal movements to better
prepare. Hey, baby,
is that like butt stuff?
Are you into trunk stuff?
Good.
Hope you got a big trunk because I'm going to put my bike in it.
Hey-o.
So, this is a tough question. When you write programs, especially for thousands of people you don't know, you have to kind of write them within the bell curve. And you kind of write, like at least I do, I imagine the athlete. Like I kind of go through and have a good understanding of who I'm writing it for, what the demands are, who, what kind of the strength and the adaptation, how long they've been training. And you kind of create this artificial person in a lot of ways based off of a lot of different factors for people. And, before it was me was the model. And I remember we used to go, for the CrossFit football, and people be like, I can't believe you guys do these things. And we're like, well, dude, I designed this shit for myself. When we got into the other programs like Jack Street and Field Strong and Grindstone, these other ones, they were actually written for specific people. So I have a person in mind.
The mere mortal.
Mere mortal. When you start writing specific programs to help somebody transition back from physical therapy, because it's a really weird deal with physical therapy. They go in, they manage pain, they try to get swelling out, they try to get range of motion. And once you're able to demonstrate range of motion, there's no pain, everything looks like it's good, then it usually ends and they kick you out in the world. And there's this huge gap between ending PT and getting you back on the field. Then in professional football, they have it. I mean, every sport has that kind of no man's land and they have somebody to guide you. But for most people, they don't have somebody to guide them. The problem becomes is it's very difficult to write that program without actually seeing the person train, to be around them, to see, like if all of a sudden, you're asking somebody to do something and within a second of watching them do it, that they can't perform it, then you're going to have to take a step back and you're going to have to go back to building blocks. And, like let's say, hey, for example, you have a knee injury and I'm asking you to squat. And as you're squatting, we're seeing a lot of dynamic tibial torsion. We're seeing this. I mean, we see like a million different things happen that you might not notice, but having the watched eye, I think, oh shit, this is having a problem. This is how we remedy it. This is how we correct it. These are the problems we do. And the reason that I've really always kind of shied away from doing that stuff in terms of a grander scheme. I mean, I'll do it one-on-one. We got a guy right now going through some knee injury stuff and, we'll start working with him and really helping him along. But that stuff is very, very specific to the individual, and it would be next to impossible because, my knee injury is different than your knee injury, and what I need to do might be different than you. I might need more rest. You might need more recovery, a million different factors. So, could you use Field Strong? 100%. Could you use Grindstone and all these programs? Yes, but you would have to be able to auto-regulate or have somebody watching you that had the wherewithal to know what was good and bad movement and then be able to move you through it. Because a lot of times when you get done with injuries and especially surgeries, you sometimes lose your physical, I guess it's like CrossFit called it perspicuity, your ability to sense movement. You understand the movement pattern, something that you might think, hey, that felt pretty good. And then you see it on tape or somebody watches and thinks, oh God, that looks awful.
Kinesthetic awareness.
Kinesthetic awareness. So I think, either, putting a plan together, and then the other thing is less is more. I rather see somebody do less and do less work well than do more work shitty. And, it's become this idea where it's not necessarily a measure of quality, it's a measure of volume. And unfortunately, when you're coming back from an injury and there's a lot of resetting, you have to be able to reinforce those patterns well.
I've never been injured, so.
Except for that ego.
What ego?
Ooh.
Well, after our race this morning.
That's very alpha of you, Tex.
I'm a gamma creative type. All right. So I guess we can stick with coaching and then the man here. So this is from Princess_Pimenton. This is a long one.
Oh, boy.
So a female coach here. I recently went back to college in an attempt to further my career as a strength coach. So far, the majority of my experience has been coaching strictly CrossFit and competitive gymnastics. My plan as of now is to get a bachelor's in athletic training and minor in exercise science, pick up various NSCA certifications along the way, also patiently waiting the second round of the Power Athlete Academy. My question is, what else should I be doing? Can you recommend any programs, people, or internships that I should look into? I would like to work mainly with tactical athletes and help train police, fire, and military personnel. Thanks for any help. Y'all are smart as fuck.
She's not talking to me. Can I just imagine what Tex is going to say?
Well, I need a breath after that, so go.
She needs get out of your comfort zone, I guess, right? Find a place to assist, to intern. I know, Tex, that was your big thing on your journey when you called John with the SOS, like, I'm going to hang it up. And he's like, no, this is perfect, at the university that we will not name.
It was not, I'm going to hang it up. I need to make sense of this situation.
Well, ready to pull your fucking hair out.
No, it's called cognitive dissonance.
Is it?
Yes.
That's
so
like the
what you believe,
everything?
but you have what you believe and you have what you experience, and there's just this complete disconnect.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess just immerse yourself in what you want to do. If it's LEO, go try to troll around and find a place to fucking to intern, right?
Well, no, I mean, and I'm going to avoid curb stomping hopes and dreams, because I think what you're talking about is extremely noble and what you want to do. It's just, and for any of our law enforcement friends and family that are on the call right now and listening, for the most part, and I've worked with
this isn't a phone call. This is a podcast.
I mean, podcast. The fitness is real low. Some of the training stuff, and I'm sure Callie's listening to this and she's shaking her head, but it's like, for a lot of guys, and it's really kind of self-selecting. I mean, you have guys like Freddie Camacho and, Callie, and I'm sure, and other people that take their fitness very, very seriously and are fucking hard chargers. And then you have other people that don't take their fitness seriously.
Right. I mean, going back to our podcast with Jay Dawes, whatever episode that was, right, John?
Yeah.
Where they're talking about like the fundamental, like where...
Well, I mean, I years ago I did a talk and a deal for some law enforcement guys, and I remember just discussing with them, the myriad of what I called I think it was like a trifecta of drugs. Like they were all on statins, Nexium and Crestor, I think was what they were on. And like if you put somebody through some high intensity interval type training and you start doing some lactic acid threshold stuff, and somebody that's on statins, they can run into some serious problems. So I just think there are some hurdles to it, but in terms of getting out there and working with the law enforcement community and military and some of the tactical athletes, I think there's some people that are doing some great jobs with it, and you probably just have to reach out to them.
Yeah. So in terms of a college on your resume holds a lot of weight with the military law enforcement, right? Mm-hmm. Because they see the outside, they see the big wins from a program, but going into that situation, you're not going to take away and learn as much as actually going into the needed situation. So whether it's police, law enforcement, firefighters, going and observe, volunteering with them. But number one, get involved with the TSAC, so NSCA, because those are the educators, those are the people that are supplying the one, certifications, and two, actually implementing programs to apply research and science. And then guess what? Science is going to be king with that community in terms of convincing. It's not going to be, your experience. It's going to be what you can do for them that's going to save them money. Mm-hmm. So if you have research studies, that's going to hold a hell of a lot more weight than your resume. I immediately suggest connecting with Jay Dawes. He's at University of Colorado Springs, and getting in either an internship or an observation, or just whatever you can, and then go all in with kind of a TSAC. So if there's a conference, start making an annual trip and going from there, because it's 100% networking, who you know, if you want to actually get a job in this world, in this industry. So you can know everything but not have a freaking connection, and you'll never get a freaking job. Mm-hmm. So there's nothing but opportunity when it comes to tactical strength and conditioning, absolutely. So there's going to be times a change, and TSAC's only been around for a few years. So imagine now if you're on the ground floor after 3 years and it comes to 10, and you've talked to every one of the professors that's putting out the studies and actually implementing them into police departments like Dawes, and they're going to start to recommend you when communities, counties actually are investing in a strength and conditioning coach.
Asked and answered.
Yeah.
What's next, Ted?
We got a lot of Texas questions. So I guess a lot of people didn't know we were in Texas. So first one's pretty easy. This one's for John. Why Texas?
Barbecue.
Why not?
Barbecue.
If you got to ask, big man, you can't afford it.
Barbecue, Shinerbach, Hill Country.
No stating him. Texas.
Honestly, it's a big fucking play against Tex because you can have a nickname like Tex if you're in California.
But you can't. Well, my favorite is when we meet older Texan dudes like Tom Dye, and I introduce him as Tex. The look on their face is like,
who the fuck
Yeah.
is this fucking guy?
he doesn't even look. He's not even wearing boots or a hat, and he sure as hell don't have a Texas accent. How did he get this? It's pretty awesome. So
That's the that's
no,
the number one reason.
Jealousy to Tom Dye? That's the number one reason? Just to spite me?
Just,
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Why? What's wrong with that?
Yeah, no, it was all despite Tex. We were tired of his elitist nickname, so we decided to move to Texas just to spite him.
Let's go Jamie J8. Gentlemen, I added that part. Absolutely love the podcast. It's nice to listen to a sensible discussion about strength. Also, good to hear from big boys, he's talking to us, Tex, about staying jacked instead of the usual BS about getting shredded like Tex always talks about. I added that. Any advice for a young father on the smartest way to train when workout time is limited? My girl's 14 months, and I'm grabbing 30 to 60 minutes 5 times a week. I'm currently in rugby off-season. Oh, an athlete. So I'm trying to keep my fitness levels high, but don't want to get weak. At the minute, I'm doing 3 sets of 5 for 2 lifts, and then short Metcon most sessions. Thanks, lads. Dude, fucking muscle up. Having a kid isn't that hard. You just put that kid in his crib and say, go to sleep. And then they go to sleep. Right, John?
That's how it works. Either go to sleep or I'll put you to sleep.
No, I mean, this is the whole premise behind Grindstone, isn't it?
Yeah, this is actually exactly why Grindstone was written.
Yeah. Because
enough said.
Yeah, so
check
dude,
out Grindstone.
Check out Grindstone. But the concept is you got to just do your best to know when to hit it. Hold them and fold them, right? And then on those fucking hold them days is when you hit the mandatory days.
Yeah, so you have 2 mandatory days that are usually your 2, longer training sessions are the ones that are most readily available. Then you got 2 recommended days, which, we recommend you get if you can. And then 1 optional day if you want to get your 5th training day in. You can, another way to kind of hit them is, you can really fine-tune the training days by, speeding things up, cutting back rest sets, and there's some optional stuff. I mean, if you have extra time, you can hit some optional stuff. But for the most part, just hit the core lifts. And this is exactly where we wrote Grindstone. So
yeah, and it's
check out Grindstone.
Because
next question.
Yeah, stress is high.
Okay.
Volume is low.
Yep.
All right. So more of an opinion here. If you could eliminate one common movement or exercise you see in the strength and conditioning world, what would it be? Eliminate, not add.
Well, can we default that there is no bad exercise, there's only bad movements? Right?
Yeah.
So that's a hard one. If you know how to coach it, then you can make it valuable. And if I guess it's not the exercise, it's the context. I don't know. How about this? Jogging.
There's a soft J.
The one exercise that I think is highly overrated, and I would venture to say has probably caused more injury than help, is the seated leg extension.
You think so?
Yeah,
but dude, my fucking quads get pumped.
I think in a bodybuilding realm it works, but I think for performance-based athletes, just sitting on a leg extension all day is kind of a moot point. I think that one, if I could, that would be pretty much the only thing that I would think of in terms of, because if you think about the way that the quad works, I mean, are we ever really in a position where you are in an open chained leg extension? I mean, it's kind of there's
maybe kicking, but not
like
but
maybe
that's not,
like maybe if I'm stepping through, but I would be stepping through dynamically to kick you in the balls. I would
what
never
about
just be standing there and just like put my leg up and go.
What about a cholo kick?
Well, normally the cholo kick is incorporates the whole body.
Oh, okay.
And then
I think I've been doing it wrong.
Well, and you're usually hammered when you get cholo kicked. But that was one that whenever I walk into, and back in the day when you went into the weight room, it was always there. I would venture to say that machine does not exist in a lot of strength conditioning gyms anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be one I'd think about. But other than that, can't really think of any bad. It's like I can't really think of just any bad exercise. I can just think of bad movements.
Mm-hmm.
But historically, the leg extension to me, I think, would be a shitty one.
Probably the deadlift.
Yeah, that's because you're allergic.
That might have something to do with it.
What else?
That was a
would be
joke.
Really shitty ones. Oh, I'll tell you. I watched a guy the other day doing the.
I know what it was. I know what
with
it
the
got.
bar behind the back. Have you ever seen people? And I forget what that's called, where you basically deadlift. No, not between the legs, but where they deadlifted up the back side.
No.
And I was watching this guy do it, and it literally the position he got in to get the bar up. I was like, either he's gonna like shit out his back, blow his Achilles, or break his shoulder. And somehow the dude pulled it up, and I thought to myself, "Fuck, I wouldn't want to do that." So that was a weird movement.
So I'm gonna go with the resisted cable golf swing that you just tagged us in, John. Ooh. I think it was on Barstool.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I'm gonna say get rid of that one. Tex, you haven't said a fucking thing.
Because I'm thinking hard. I've been training at Law Fitness for probably 6 months, and just what really grinds my gears is the goddamn cell phone in the weight room.
I actually, one of my favorites is I saw a guy working the fist pump. So he had a cable, and he was just doing
vertical.
This one, like he was doing the fist pump, like he's at the concert, like Def Leppard, for example. They're playing Pour Some Sugar on Me, and he's just fucking fist pumping Pour Some Sugar on Me. Mm-hmm. He was training the fist pump on the cable machine, and I thought to myself,
man, that's legit.
I mean, it's kind of sports specific. I mean, it's kind of specific in that, he's getting ready to go to the concert. It's concert season here in Austin, and he's getting ready to get it by just fucking training his fist pump. And I get it. Like, I just don't think that you necessarily have to train the fist pump. I think you can get the fist pump in other ways. So cable fist pumping, that might be one that I don't really see much need for, but fuck, he was pretty good at it.
What do you think he was baiting us for? This question, like a muscle up or some shit like that?
Probably ring dips.
Yeah.
Well, hey, dude, if you like stability to be able to fucking, stabilize yourself in your, upper body to be able to, lower yourself into a dip position.
Oh, I know what I would say for like a general pop CrossFit class is high rep bounding box jumps.
Oh, any sort of, I guess, bounding or advanced plyometrics. But I don't
want to eliminate it from the world.
But, I want to work towards it.
Yeah, I mean, what do we always say? To really, plyometrics are one of those things where you have to be strong enough to protect yourself from the movement. I think we were on the podcast with Derek Hansen, and we were talking about that the ability to transition into more advanced movements came at that 2 times double weight back squat, and we found that when people can double body weight back squat, they are effectively strong enough to protect themselves from injury and bad movement doing extremely dynamic movements like advanced plyometrics, depth jumps, other things. So I think, people get so jiggy on that stuff so quick, and a lot of times they just haven't developed a strength base. They need to protect themselves. Because at the end of the day, as much as all this stuff is great, fucking avoid injury. Like,
do no harm.
It's a little different if you're getting paid millions of dollars to do this,
mm-hmm.
but like you pay $180 to go to your local gym, your CrossFit, whatever it looks like. If you're going in there and getting injured, that shouldn't be happening, regardless of how much fucking kinesio tape, or you gonna go to the local throwdown, or you want to compete in the regionals or online qualifiers or anything. You're doing it as a recreational athlete. Don't get hurt as a recreational athlete.
Mm-hmm. And that's John. That's what.
Like, don't get hurt playing fucking adult old man tennis, Luke.
I never got hurt. These guys were beating my ass because I know my limits.
Or go and playing like
pickleball,
like flag football. Like I'm playing flag football on the beach and I fucking blew out my knee because I tried to juke some dude. And I mean, it's like, fuck, dude. Like,
well, see,
be smart.
But here's the thing, John. That is the pinnacle of competition. You're not supposed to get hurt in training, but if you get hurt in competition against elderly men's league tennis, that's just the way the fucking cookie crumbles, man.
Are you wearing white short shorts?
No, I'm wearing board shorts and they don't have fucking pockets. So I'm like, have you ever played tennis without pockets? I'm a fucking retard out there running around.
You holding balls.
Always holding balls.
But good thing you're a ball holder.
No,
yes.
You got to put it up the shorts like the girls.
Oh, I just hold them in my mouth.
No, he just holds them in his... God damn it. He got me. I was like, he's so good at holding balls in his mouth that he just fucking stuffed them in there like a fucking squirrel.
Never had your car. I had a great point to make. Oh,
not double clutching like you oughta.
You know what's interesting? Because at the seminar, Tex, have you noticed this? I just realized this correlation, okay? At the seminar, we open up, we give an amazing intro, yada, 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 but we do a show of hands. How many people have followed Power Athlete program for at least 1 day, 1 month, 1 year, or 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, a year, right? And it used to be 60%, right? And we would have hard-charging motherfuckers at the seminar. But then as that number has gone down, people who show up to the seminar who are injured and can't do specific shit has gone up, which leads me to believe if you want to not get fucking hurt, why don't you follow a program that is completely, the core of it is do no harm, where the volume intensity is regulated, the movement selection is regulated so that you don't fucking hurt yourself like some dipshit.
So what's the thought? Take me through this. Again, out-of-body experience. What's the thought process for a coach that thinks pushing yourself to injury is okay?
I don't think they see, they don't have that nonlinear vision to understand that by always showing up and trying to sizzle, there's going to be a breaking point, right? So they don't see it until it hits them.
Well,
so I don't think their thought process is there.
But you also have to remember, I mean, in terms of people working at a commercial gym, or if, let's say you're a gym owner and you're bringing people in, people expect when they walk through the door to get fucking kicked in the balls. And if you don't kick them in the balls, then obviously then it must not be working. This might be the right place for me, because the only receipt that I have for whether or not this is good or bad is the horrible feeling that I feel at the end, because the internet and everybody else has told them that salvation through suffering, and so I have to go in when I walk through here, it has to end in some fucking god awful suffering. I have to complain to everybody, post it on Instagram how awful it was, and then that's the secret recipe to getting what I want.
The burn.
But unfortunately, that's not the case. The problem is when you're working with coaches and with people that only have one tool in their toolbox, aka a hammer, they don't necessarily understand that there's some other things that you have to have an ebb and flow in your training, that some days are good days, some days are bad days, some day you get kicked in the balls, some day you get hugged, and there has to be some form of thought that goes past, this day, it has to go in the future that said, hey, for the next 6 weeks, this is what it's going to look like. You have to do some block periodization in your training. The problem is that if your training looks like, what are you doing today? I don't know. Let me just make something up on the fly, and we're going to somehow just fucking randomly constantly vary this stuff. I think you run into problems. And I think, where CrossFit football and Power Athlete virally infected the CrossFit community was actually by putting a periodized strength conditioning template into the training, and basically fixing the sub 15-minute workouts, the majority of them 7 between 12 minutes, occasionally on the long side of 15 minutes, and others shorter. And I think by putting that template in place, we really found people reaching their performance goals, because you could kind of periodize through it. You could have some different things, and I think it worked really, really well. I just think that when you leave people up to their own devices and you have a coach who doesn't do his fucking programming. I mean, how many times have we run into people that have written programs at our seminars, and I've always asked them, been like, would you do this? They're like, God awful, I would never do this shit. And I'm like, why the fuck would you write something that you wouldn't do yourself? Well, I don't want to do that shit. This shit's awful. But I know that the more awful I make it, the more people come back. And I'm like, that's a horrible, horrible, horrible commentary on people. But unfortunately, as a gym owner, you have bills to pay, and sometimes you probably have to whore yourself. And because, I mean, and you can ask guys, that own gyms. We did it at our gym. I remember I did a test where I was like, let's just make this shit so awful nobody wants to come. And our fucking gym exploded and we got more members. And then I was like, wait a minute. So if we give them really good, intelligent, thought out, quality strength conditioning, people will leave. So we did that and it worked beautifully.
So how do we, because those coaches are still out there, right? Maybe they're listening to this, maybe they're not, but how do we just fucking shake them to realize this is big, this is long term?
Because here's the problem, because people don't do long term. The problem is it's a consumer. So training really has melted down into this thing. It's like a commodity, right? I mean, you guys that own CrossFit gyms know CrossFit's a commodity, right? Oh, so you're charging $175. Oh, this guy's charging $150. This guy's charging $99. I'm going to go to the $99 one because why?
Cheaper.
It's all the same. It's cheaper, right? If the only response that I have is I get torched every day, well, how do you torch somebody? You just fucking throw as much as you can at them until they can't do it anymore. Awesome. So if I get torched everywhere, and it's based off of this constantly varied, constantly varied movements performed at high intensity, and I just, I get torched, what does it matter? How do I know what's good and bad? People don't have any frame of reference to know what's good and bad. They just know I got my fucking ass kicked. It's like Fight Club, right? I mean, was that guy a better fighter than me? I don't know. I got punched in the face and don't remember anything after. So, and if that's the marker for driving success into my business is how many members I have, how it all fits together, then you know what? Then you got to fucking hold people's feet to the fire, But then when you start looking at it and being like, that's fine. If the only thing, I mean, like my brothers are a classic example. How long did I fight with them to try to come and do some intelligent training? And they refuse. All they want to do is show up at 6 a.m. and get their fucking asses kicked, and then talk about how awful it is and leave. And their fucking movement is awful. To the point where I told you guys, don't even coach them.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
it's just how it rolls. And, you have to remember that, what's the goal here? Is it to have 200 members to make money? Yeah, we want you to keep your gym alive. But then at some point, you look at, a transition between if I'm training performance-based athletes to perform on the field, and my goal is to really make them the best that they can be, walking them in and burning them to the ground every single day is not the best method. Now, there's places to do that shit early in the off season, like what you saw in Carizzi, some of these guys coming in, or off season, summer, when they're getting ready, they got 4 weeks till they're going to training camp, but it's time to turn it up and get the intensity going. There's an opportunity to do that stuff, and there's different points in the year where you need to do that. You need to weed guys out, see who's leaders and who's not, who's going to fucking fail, who's going to step up. And I think you have to create that stuff in the training, but there has to be a dose of intelligent stuff where performance is really at the forefront. Just not like fucking dropping a nuclear bomb on your town every day, hoping to God that your grass grows.
And that's like seasonality of the training though.
Yeah. I mean, and that's what we'd always did. I mean, there was block periodization even when I owned a CrossFit gym.
Yeah.
We would, when it was colder, we would tend to, lift more weights and do some stuff. As it got warmer, we know people wanted to be outside. We did a little bit more longer type things, and we kind of just picked some seasonality. The problem becomes is, when you walk in every day and it's a fucking 30-minute Metcon that involves kettlebell swings, box jumps, fucking 400-meter runs, and jump rope, and just fucking torch people every day because that's what they want. And unfortunately, the consumer votes with their feet. If they show up and they like it, but here's the problem: people don't know what they fucking like.
Yeah. And, we had a crew of guys at Balboa that like sat the coaches down, and were like, hey, we need more fucking burners. These aren't hard enough, and then we didn't bend. We didn't fucking bend. We're like, just fucking go harder, go faster. And then they ended up leaving and going to different boxes. And guess what happened? They were all fucking banged up because we'd see them out at the bars.
Yep.
Because we weren't drinking, we were just seeing if they were open.
I fucking saw some of those guys. And,
you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know exactly
right?
who you're talking about. And I saw them, and they were all fucking hurt.
Yeah.
And the problem became is that, so here becomes the deal. When a lot of those guys came in, when you come in, especially in the initial training, when you're deconditioned, you've never done this stuff, there's a need to build a metabolic base. You have to get people into a base level of conditioning. Right. At which point you develop that conditioning base, then you have to start turning up other pieces. The problem is that they see what they did to initially get in shape, and then they figure that's what I have to do.
Yeah.
Right? It's kind of like we know that, like, yeah, if you go out and you run, if you haven't run and you go out and you run 400-meter runs and you do a couple of them and you're consistent, you will get faster. Mm-hmm. The problem is that going out and jogging 400-meter runs when you're unconditioned, isn't getting you faster. It's just creating a base level of conditioning for you enough to be able to move better. Now, when you start looking at developing top-end speed, is that going to allow you to get top-end speed? No. So, like, but here's the problem. Like, people aren't looking at this thing in terms of a multi-year template. They're not looking at it, like, down the road. Like, that's the thing I always appreciated about Spitz and these guys always talking about in quads, right? They train in 4-year and you know, this is what we're doing for the next 4 years. This is what 4 years. Where are you in quad? I'm in the second year of the quad. This is where it is, to the point where everything's strategically laid out. The problem is you know, most people that are developing fitness or training that aren't in a, you know, periodized strength conditioning template for a specific goal don't understand. They don't look at things in terms of a 4-year deal. They don't look at it within a year. They don't even look at it within a week. They look at it day to day. You know, what can I do today? I'm going to do as much as I can because obviously that works. And, you know, some days it doesn't. Like, you don't have to get punched in the face every day. There's ways to develop other things. And the problem becomes is we've been taught that the only, you know, receipt that I have for whether or not today was a good day or a bad day was by how.
The sizzle.
By if I got fucking sizzled.
All right, starting to empathize with a gym owner from that. But here's where I
just to cut you off, and I'm not trying to be hard on the gym owner, because any time I meet somebody that's a gym owner, especially a CrossFit gym owner, I want to give them a hug and tell them it's not your fault. And it's like, I fucking feel awful for them because they are stuck in an endless fucking wheel of trying to please people that have no idea what they're, you know,
but it's
what it is to be pleased about.
It's the 3-year gym owner. The first-year gym owner has it all figured out. It's a fucking cash cow, baby. They love it. I love it.
Here's the problem too, is people's only fucking receipt for whether or not it's good or bad, like you said, is the sizzle. And then what's the other one? How do I look? It's all aesthetically based, but we're going to lie about it and be like, oh no, it's performance based. We're building fitness. No, I just want to fucking look good naked. But here's the thing. We know, dude, I can calorie restrict you, have you lift weights and do some fucking base level aerobic type work. And I can diet you into fucking a bodybuilding show where you'll look exactly like you want to look without having to fucking torch you every single day. But the problem becomes that takes too much. So you know what I'm going to do? I got to ask my brother. My brother's almost 10 years still CrossFit. And they go every day. And I always ask my brother, Eddie, like, how you doing? Oh, great. I can go do this stuff, and it allows me to kind of eat what I want, and I stay in decent shape. I'm like, but if we did something else, you'd probably get it's good. It works. It works the same. You know? So, I mean, we had a gym, and we trained, and I fucking got my brothers there like 3 days in fucking 4 years, in a couple years. So
just continuing with it, taking that approach to kids. So hear me out here. The parents' lives are changed. General Pop's lives are changed. So they think, all right, this is the way. And then they start to bring their kids in. We're seeing this more and more. So Jim Kibasso and I talked about this, and I brought that conversation to you, John, of where the problem lies is now a strength and conditioning coach who's in charge of, I'll look up the name of it in a second here, but he's in charge of International Youth Conditioning Association, I believe it's called. And the problem is he's getting parents in there that want to develop athleticism, speed, and all this good stuff, but then they want him to do CrossFit. They want...
the best trick the devil ever played was convincing the world that there was a direct relationship between athleticism and capacity and fucking fitness.
Work capacity.
It's not. I mean, so the problem is that the parents are uneducated consumers. They're looking at what they did, and like, you know, I see it all the time. People are like, oh, I started training. I'm in the best shape of my life and all these other things. And it's like, that's great. I'm totally stoked that you've made this massive life change. The problem becomes if you want to develop athletes just basically using emotional response of how hard you went and trying to develop capacity with constantly varied fucking movements isn't how you necessarily develop athleticism. You develop athleticism in the ability to challenge posture and position. I mean, the ability to seamlessly and effortlessly combine primal movement patterns through space to accomplish a known and novel task. Where does that get developed? Well, one, it doesn't get developed in a training style that's both fucking closed-chained and done in a doorway within a sagittal plane. Like, you have to work rotation, and you know what? It doesn't look like it's very difficult to develop athleticism in just purely a GPP fashion. So, like, yes, we can challenge, posture or challenge posture and position, do these whole things, but at some point you have to push people outside of their bounds and allow them to compete against other people. Like we talk about open chain and closed chain. You can develop a set of closed chain movements, but at some point you have to push a person out and force them to take what they've learned in the closed chain environment and
spread their wings.
deal. So like, okay, great. So me competing against another person in, air squats, pull-ups, and kettlebell swings doesn't develop athleticism. Can it develop athleticism? Maybe, but I know that there's a better way to do it. Now, if I were to take my children, and I do, to gymnastics, do the gymnastic girls develop? Are they developing athleticism? Yes. Are they doing everything within sagittal plane, like in a doorway? Majority of the things, except you think about the boys with rotation on like the pommel horse. But for the most part, the ability to move within space, and even though everything they're doing is closed chain, closed loop movements, everything's practice, their ability to generate force and power and strength. And you look at the attention to detail and the amount of technique work. And you know what? There's very rarely any point during their technique work where they have a high heart rate. At the end, they do conditioning little burners to stay in shape. You think about swimming. I mean, everything is based upon learning movement skills and then forcing people to replicate those. So I think the problem becomes is that, we're trying to take a model for developing fitness as CrossFit has defined it, and we're trying to apply it to developing young athletes, and it just doesn't work in the same way. And, but here's the thing. People think they know everything. What do you mean? It worked for me, it should work here, and it doesn't. There's a reason, you look at the best athletes in the world, and a lot of them did not come from the confines of a gym. You can go watch the kids in Brazil play futsal. You can watch, kids all over. I mean, you watch some of the best running backs and baseball players and just different people in terms of sport development. They did not develop those skills at, expensive academies or, in the confines of a gym. They developed that shit on the street, playing games, playing endless amounts of opportunity to do these things and compete against other people.
Through space.
To accomplish known or novel tasks.
So what do you tell that gym owner or Gen Pop parent to do with their kids?
Well, they should bring them. But you know what their parents should, or the gym owner should do? Come take the Power Athlete methodology, come through our Block 1, and let us give you a better skill set so that you can develop these athletes and not be a one-trick pony. I'm tired of one-trick ponies. I'm tired of people that show up to a job with one tool, a hammer. Let me give you more tools. And you know what? A lot of times they're going to have to put their fucking egos on the shelf. Like, dude, I'm never in my life, and I'm telling you this straight up, I played in the NFL for 10 years, hung out with Tom Brady, knew some of the best players from Peyton Manning, and I have seen smaller egos and more approachable, easier to be around people in the NFL than what I've seen in the CrossFit community.
I believe that, actually.
I mean, come on, dude. Like, fucking, like, it's exercise, dude. Like wearing goofy shit and exercising, fucking, like, it just... like take a step back, check perspective, fucking be humble, and you know what, just let's not make any illusions about it. I played in the NFL. You know what? I got paid a lot of money to push around other fucking fat guys in spandex. You think I was curing cancer? No. There was fucking 75, 100,000 drunk dudes in the fans screaming, trying to kick each other's ass while I pushed around dudes in the heat. Do I make any illusions about it? No, I know exactly who I was. And you know what? Was I fucking cocky or conceited or felt like I had a big chip on my shoulder? No, never. Because, dude, there's people over there doing much more important jobs than what I'm doing, fucking entertainer. So realize you're fucking entertaining people. And you know what? Like, a lot of the girls, like, working out in fucking bra and spandex, I fucking salute you. But goddamn, dudes ain't showing up to fucking watch you fucking do thrusters. They're watching you fucking because you're showing up pretty much training naked.
So you're suggesting we start CrossFitting in snow gear?
No. But, like, honestly, like the Jared Wayne Stevens, like, really, you just fucking rolling spandex, no shirt. Like, come on, dude. Like, fucking throw some shorts on. I mean, if you're fucking...
Spandex shorts.
If you had a 12-inch hammer, maybe, but you ain't got a hammer, dude.
So, I believe...
And you know Callie's going to cut most of the shit.
I don't care.
No.
I believe... So I definitely see you with the humbling factor, because sport, it's the ultimate humbler, right? It's that moment where you get overpowered despite of all the effort, and you still have to show up or take the next pitch and do the next play. So, I don't know, how do you apply humbling to fitness, to coaches?
You don't, because it's the effort that's applauded, right? Because and here's the thing, for the people who need it, it works. Try your hardest and you'll get in better shape, right? But now, the problem about, my personal opinion here, the problem at the competitive level of the sport of fitness is effort is celebrated and no one's a fucking loser. Right? You miss a snatch, people love you because they can relate, but you're a warrior on the platform and that type of stuff, man. But you miss your fucking assignment on Sunday in front of fucking 150 drunk people, plus me being drunk, you're going to get motherfucked. Not to mention the millions of viewers on TV, not to mention the Sports Center highlight, and not to mention your fucking films and getting the boot up the ass from your fucking coach.
Or even think about like Olympic athletes. Like that was something that I really appreciate talking with Woodsky and some of the other cats. I mean, these dudes train their entire life
for that
for one moment of excellence, and like that 4 years. And you know what? Nobody applauds fucking effort. What they applaud is whether or not you were the best or not. And you could throw your lifetime PR and another dude beats you. And you know
you're a fart in the wind and you're fucking gone in a second, dude.
It's fucking interesting. Like I've like it's probably just fuck, I don't even know how to describe it. But what kind of gets me a little bit is people CrossFit has done more in terms of getting people off the couch and introducing to barbells than any other fucking thing since, like in the history of the world.
It's increasing lifespans. It's improving quality of life.
100%. And so you run into something like really the only part, I mean, as much as I appreciate conditioning and whatever, I mean, I like to lift weights. The one thing that I always found, which was great, was that CrossFit introduced more people to barbells. That's why when we hear the Ben Bergeons of the world talk about, strength is overrated, don't lift weights in your gym, I think to myself, if there wasn't fucking weightlifting in the gym, I wouldn't fucking go there. I'll do the conditioning, I'll do the stupid fucking, triplets, couplets and all that, just as an excuse to come in and bang weights with people. I'm fine with that. But if you take all that shit away and you basically just turn it into fucking Barry's boot camp, with fucking Reebok branding and fucking booty shorts, then you know what, and some fucking severe caloric restriction, then you know what, then who the fuck are we? Like
just really hungry people.
Yeah, like fucking dude. And the interesting part is it's not complicated, right? No. Sleep 7-8 hours, fucking, eat real food. Don't be a fucking weirdo. Lift some weights, sprint, run. I mean, go outside on a Saturday and do fucking, 3 or 4 hours worth of, outside work. People that are out there, they're like measuring almonds and have to go to the gym and then, and just do some shit. Like I lived that life, but because it was my full-time job. Like, and you know what? Like I like my level of fitness now. I mean, shit, man, like we go outside. I mean, shit, dude, I had 3 days of not only fucking cutting pallet racks and doing that and working at the, at the place we're out here. I mean, shit, dude, that's legitimate. Like dragging a log out of the fucking river, that's legitimate fitness. Showing me that you can do fucking muscle ups does nothing for me. I got a fucking 80-foot log that we had to cut up and drag out of the fucking river with a fucking chain that weighed 300 pounds. That's your fucking level of fitness. Come on, show me what you got. And if you're wearing fucking spandex and no shirt, you're going to get bit by a lot of fucking bugs.
Yeah, fuck yeah. I got these bug bites from just sitting outside of Starbucks,
Jesus
dude.
Fucking Christ, there's a lot of bugs here. But like, here's the thing, like, and Luke always tells me where my perspective is fucked up, that he was the dude in the cube and like this allowed him. And like, for that, like, I'm always fucking will believe that this is better than what else is out there. But I have to think like, balance is the key to this, and at the end of the day, like I always go back to who was the climber dude that we had on Rob Miller, who talked about his athleticism, circles, and he talked about it. He's like, man, I thought that somehow chasing the metabolic conditioning, the glycolytic pathway would help me with my climbing, and it didn't. What helped me with my climbing was lifting weights, being strong, and then getting out there and fucking climbing.
Being in pretty good shape.
Yeah, he's like just being strong and getting out there and doing my stuff, which at the end of the day, if you lift weights, you do a little bit of conditioning, and then you go out and you actually do stuff, that's your measure of fitness. Not telling me how fast you did your fucking Michael time because it's fucking,
Isn't that the run backwards one?
That was like, no, that was the, I forgot what that is, but goddamn, if I was if I was the guy that hero wad and they had the 800 meter backwards run, I'd be like, oh God, fucking shoot me. So
just trying to, I guess, suggest action for the audience if this makes the cut.
No, but
Well,
here's the thing, dude. We're really an uneducated consumer when it comes to strength conditioning. But it's funny, the people that aren't find people like us. And I hate to, and I don't want to sound elitist, but I have to think like what we're doing it's pretty good, but it's super basic. Like first of all, know thyself, know who you are, know where you're fit within the training. Like train specific within your wheelhouse, who you are, what you can do. Don't try to do other people's shit. Know thyself. And the problem is that if the only marker you have for improvement is what you look in the mirror, you're going to be fucking depressed. And if the only marker you have for improvement is chasing, a bunch of other, like the numbers, like, hey, you know what? I somehow did this workout faster. I must be fitter. Yeah, like that's a good measure. But you have to be able to test your fitness and use your fitness in other ways. And if you look at the original CrossFit stuff, it was learn new sports regularly. I remember Rob Wolf talking about showing up at the gym to go train an old CrossFit HQ, and fucking Glassman had a whole bunch of fucking mountain bikes, and they used to fucking ride out in the mountains and fucking do a bunch of bike riding stuff. So, I mean, they did a lot of constantly varied stuff. Dude, they swam, they did things. The problem becomes is that model is kind of what they've abandoned, and now it's all this basically chasing fucking, glycolytic pathway, GPP, kettlebells and box jumps, triplet, couplet. Let's do this, girl. I mean, it just there's not enough variation because as a coach, that's not what people fucking want, right? They just want to come in and get torched.
And so that's where I like the games. I enjoyed what they've done. So I don't think it's HQ that's gone that way. I think it's just people do what they like. People do what their Gen Pop wants, and then that negatively affects and what I'm seeing. I'm just worried about the people's kids because the amount of baseball players and volleyball players that we've seen fucked up from repetitive movement, and this is repetitive movement. Just worried about the future because lifting weights, fucking sprinting and moving through space has provided me so much. I just want kids to have that.
I think, Tex, it's a life cycle element. You're going to have a generation and population of parents who are going to influence the activity of their kids, right? I mean, my old man didn't fucking know. He never lifted weights, but a guy who was really smart said, your kids should be lifting weights. And he's like, all right, fucking go lift some weights. And, I was fortunate enough to be put in that. Now, I'm curious if, fast forward, and let's say it was still 14-year-old Luke, would somebody, one of his fucking patients come and be like, oh, you got to get your kid in this CrossFit thing. It's going to be great for his football. Probably, right? So it starts, I guess, with the gym owner. Like our approach has to be what our whole model is, right? Coach to coach.
Yeah.
It's coach to coach. So that when, kids walk into CrossFit Lakeway, Harry Shaw's gym, he knows not to fucking put them in the Gen Pop deal. He knows these are athletes, right? They got to squat, step, lunge, sprint, run, and follow some sort of program based off of proficiency of movement, progression, a level of individuality, right? All the things that we talk about in the PAM 1 course. But dude, I look back to when I was a coach, CrossFit coach, and I didn't know. It's a life cycle thing, man. And that life cycle varies from coach to coach, right? There are people out there, and I have friends who are opening up gyms right now, and I'm just trying to fucking shake them like Billy Madison,
Stay here.
But more so don't believe what you believe. Just don't believe because you think it's the answer. And I remember thinking it was the answer, and I don't even know fucking why when I was running that gym. I just thought what we were doing was the answer. It was the solution for everything. And then fucking Wellborn and crew came in and blew it all up. And I think I've told this story a number of times, but I walked away from the first CrossFit football seminar feeling lied to. Like someone had fucking lied to me.
That's cognitive dissonance.
I know. That's what I was trying to tell you the whole time, but you don't listen to me.
Well, I mean, here's the thing.
And to clarify real quick, John, of all my assumptions and assertions prior to that event, and it was an eye-opening experience walking away from that seminar because Like chaos wasn't the answer, order was, right? And making order of the chaos. And then you just like, you try it and everyone's fucking better. It's like, what the fuck, you know?
Well, if you think about this, like, you know, whether or not people agree or disagree, you know, strength is a platform in which everything else is built. All things being equal, the stronger athlete will always be the better athlete. You know, I mean, we know a stronger athlete's a faster athlete. Now, you know, there's definitely a point where, you know, you're so strong or you're too strong that it takes away, it negatively affects. But if you like are talking about, you know, hey, I want to be better at this, usually, hey, if you're stronger, you will usually do better. You know, people are always looking to try to crack this code and do all these things. And it's like, dude, it's really not all that complicated. You know, but the problem is that we're still relatively in the infancy, and you have people that are literally just modeling this thing and trying to see through it. And at the end of the day, you know, like it's so subjective for what we're trying to do. I mean, it's like, okay, so, you know, CrossFit goes, hey, you know, we're searching for the fittest person on the planet as per Dave Castro's selection. So, you know, if John Welborn selects the fitness, is there a different fit person?
Yes.
100%, because we're all going to favor different things. You know, you know, the fittest person would be like, everybody gets to select a different workout, and then we get to throw them in a hopper and select them. It's just not Dave Castro picking them all. So, I mean, you know, as per Dave's, you know, deal, you know, and CrossFit's always made the claim, like, if you're better than us, then come and show us you're better than us. You know, and like, you know, and anytime somebody puts up, like, you know, I saw it was like Men's Health put up, like, you know, the fittest man on the planet was like Ronaldo, you know, and they like, people were freaking out.
That's like three or four, like a while ago.
Yeah.
Right?
And like people were like losing their mind, and it's like, well, you know, as per your definition, you know, Rich Froning is the guy, but is Rich Froning also out there playing, you know, the world's, you know, top sport, which is soccer, the biggest amount deal, making fucking, you know, what does he make, like $200 million a year? You know, Ronaldo.
Helicopter money.
Oh, dude, he's fucking private jet money. I mean, so for him, his ability to go do his job and perform at a high level, he has a fitness that allows him to do his job and be the best in the world. So like for me, and I've always said it is, fitness is personal to what you need it. Am I fit enough to go out and fucking drag an 80-foot log out of a
task specific?
To drag
Fitness. Task specific fitness.
An 80-foot log out of a fucking river? Yes, for my fitness, that's what I needed to do. Could I take somebody and say, hey, you know what? You know, I need somebody from the CrossFit Games to come help me. Is there a good chance that they might not be able to do it? Maybe. Right? Like, can Tom Dye help me? No.
Fuck.
But
no.
can he sit on a tractor and do it? Yes, because he's fucking task specific on a tractor. I just think that we need to get away from this idea of fitness being general. I think your fitness depends on what you need it to do. And what we looked at, and especially with the training programs, I've always said that I'm just trying to, you know, I'm trying to develop power athletes. I'm trying to develop strong, stable, proficient, you know, good movers that are able to be strong, generate force, power. I mean, all these other key factors, so that I provide them all of these tools so that they can step out into the realm of fucking reality and out of a, you know, fake reality, and fucking use it for something, whether it's sprint through a wall, do all these other key factors, play football, do a sport, do this. And I think that's what I want for people. I want them to have a base level of fitness that allows them to do what they need it to do. Like, if your fitness only extends in the gym and you can't use it in fucking the real world, like, hey, I'm great at this, but I can't fucking hike Kilimanjaro. I can't do this, or I can't fucking help you carry your couch. Like, you're no longer useful.
That the beauty is in the simplicity, where you said, I just want to build good movers.
Yeah.
And then our definition of athleticism, moving, and then the value of a base level of strength. And then in the course, we go into the depth of what it actually means, a base level of strength, which goes into good movers, biomechanical efficiency. If you have a base level of strength, you're more coachable, which then gives you more opportunities in practice, and so on.
So as you guys know, we moved to Texas, and I bought 16 acres, and we've been building a facility. But there's a lot of other things that kind of go into this. Like, we got like a massive 40-foot storage container that you know, we have put on the side, and so I've been basically went and bought pallets, and you know, drove down to San Antonio to some fucking abandoned warehouse, and basically loaded pallet to get pallets to bring back and put pallets in the container.
You don't have to leave the part out where you bullied the staff into helping
I totally did. I walked in. It was like 9 a.m.
Hey,
These fuckers
you
were sitting
fuck bag, get over here.
I was like over there measuring them. I started grabbing shit, and then I was like, "Hey, you, what are you doing?" The guy's like, "I'm just waiting for him to tell me what to do." No, you're with me. So I fucking wrangle the staff. We load my whole truck with like literally like thousands of pounds of pallets, which I shouldn't have done. Fucking strap that thing up, drive it home, and then I got to unload all that shit. And then not only do that, I got to assemble these massive fucking pallets. We got to cut them, get them all in there. And it's like, dude, it was a shit ton of work. And I remember at one point, like Kate came up with the kids and she's like, good thing you're strong. And she's like, good thing that, she's like, what would other normal people do? And I'm like, they would fucking call somebody.
I remember thinking that as well. I forget what the fuck we were doing. I'm like, what do normal people do?
Or people that aren't physical.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, or like digging concrete, or like, we're out there doing these things, or, any of the shit that I've had to do at my property. I always think like, what would somebody who wasn't physically inclined do? Like, who would you call for most of this shit? And, or even like some of like the, stuff like we've been working on Tom's truck. Like I'm over there trying to move these fucking axles. And I'm thinking to myself, like we can either lift this thing or we can get Tom on the forklift. And he's like, dude, let me get the forklift. I'm like, nah, fuck it. Let's lift this shit. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, man. Like, I think people have been sold a bill of goods, and it's not a negative. It's not a bad thing. They've just been sold something that I think is not exactly what they need. I don't think anyone's telling them that hey man, there's other shit. Like, check your fucking blind spot.
The coaches don't know.
Yeah. Check your blind spot. Look around. Experience other shit.
Well, I mean, isn't it kind of the elitist attitude? Like,
I don't know.
Like, I mean, and we used to run it all the time. I mean, back in the day, because like, people would come in and they would have this, straight up like fucking dichotomy. This emotional fucking, battle of Star Wars, the Force, the good versus the light, where like, they would listen to what I would talk about in terms of like, CrossFit football, power athlete, what we do. And the problem is that the only looking glass they had to analyze it came from what they knew of CrossFit. And I'm like, dude, I'm not training for fitness. Fitness isn't the end goal. Performance is. And like, they couldn't rectify what we were talking about because they didn't have a big enough skill set. They hadn't been exposed to enough. They hadn't done enough. I mean, the first day, when all of a sudden you go out, or just case in point, like let's say, for example, your car runs out of gas. What do? You sit in the car and you fucking call 911, you call the AAA, or are you strong enough to get out and push your fucking car out of traffic? Mm-hmm. Right? Does the car care that you fucking did a 4-minute Fran, or that you did this or this? No, the car only knows that it weighs fucking 3,000 pounds. And it fucking, let's say your tires aren't fucking inflated well, and you might have to get behind it and steer and push your fucking car out of traffic. Because how often do people stop and help you? Not very often. Mm-hmm. And at that point, are you thinking to yourself, God damn it, I'm so glad I went to this CrossFit gym and did fucking 95-pound thrusters. And no, what are you thinking? I have to push this fucking car. And you know what? You might not be able to push it. Because I've fucking come up on people that haven't been able to push their car. And you know what? The last time I did it, I got out and the guy went to help. And I'm like, no, get in there and steer. I'll push your fucking car. And the guy like looked at me and I was like, I don't even want your help. Just you steer, bitch.
I had to pass by a guy because we were on the way. We had a flight. And I'm like, I'm supposed to fucking help this guy.
Right? And I pushed his car out of traffic. And the dude was like so thankful. And I remember him thinking, and he even said to me, he's like, dude, if you hadn't come, I don't know what I'd done. I was not strong enough to push it out of traffic. And he didn't say like I wasn't fit enough. Mm-hmm. I wasn't able. I didn't have the right shoes. I wasn't strong enough. Mm-hmm. Be fucking strong enough to live in society. Like, mm-hmm. I mean, and that's part of the thing. Like, dude, have a basic understanding. And like some of these basic analogies, I'm like, dude, like, yeah, I want you to be fit, dude. I want you to have abs. Like, dude, like go for it. But at the end of the day, fucking, like, mm-hmm. It's just it's just a different mindset, man. And like I said, it's not a bad thing, because what CrossFit has done more than anything is it's put barbells in people's hands. The problem is where I get fired up is when people start fucking eschewing the training, stop making it heavy, where it just turns into fucking Barry's boot camp, because mm-hmm. that's what their fucking members they want. Fucking give them a heavy dose of iron and teach them the same fucking lessons that I learned.
Yeah.
And you know what? And I guarantee, you can say, oh, whatever, dude. Like, dude, I wasn't the best athlete. I wasn't the guy who was fucking destined to go play in the NFL in this, dude. I fucking built this shit out of countless hours, and I know something about perseverance and not giving up. When other people said, you'll never do this, you suck, you'll do that, I fucking persevered because you know what? I'm too stupid to give up. Like, that's why you guys always joke, like, so what's the mission statement for Power Athlete? World domination.
That's it.
Right? Yeah. Like, that's why, and I won't stop until that's done. And however we get there, by hook or crook, we'll fucking get there. But you know what? Like, what else am I going to do? Am I going to go fucking kick a can across America or kick a rock or fucking feel bad for myself? No, fuck that. You know what we're going to do? We're going to fucking build everything we need. We're going to fucking do it. We're going to turn the lights on. And you know what? Just like Field of Dreams, if you build it, they'll come. Mm-hmm. And I fucking know that. And you know what? And if I fail with that mentality, it wasn't a lost life. I will happily fucking go to my grave knowing that I fucking tried to change something that I saw was wrong. Mm-hmm. And it's fucking getting people into a mindset that is fucking broken, man. Like, and the problem is dude, they've been convinced that there's a fucking correlation between, you know, fitness and athleticism. And dude, my goal is I want to get people on the athleticism continuum, and I want them to start fucking down it. And I want them to be better athletes or better versions of themselves at 70 that they were at 20. Mm-hmm. And you know what? That's what I want.
Starts right here, bitches. Mic drop. I'm hungry. 1 hour 45. All questions answered. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. This is Luke. That's Tex.
This
is John.
This goes back to, you know, be the change. Your speech from the last symposium.
What have I always said, man? Like, people always look around for somebody else to do something. And it's kind of like I mean, just to, you know, do it, but like, people always like, you know, how many times have you been like, oh yeah, hey, that's a great idea, let's do it? Are you the guy that calls up and it's like, hey dude, let's do this?
No, I thought that's a terrible idea. What time?
What time? Yeah, but I mean, like, like, hey, like, and that's the thing. Like, people are always waiting. I remember when I was a kid. I remember, like, you know, my brothers were doing something, and I was like kind of like made this realization that I hung out with my brothers all the time, and I didn't really have any other friends. Like, a couple friends, but like, and I said to my mom, I'm like, I don't really have a ton of other friends, like people that I would call or whatever. And my mom's like, you know how you make friends? You be a friend. Probably you are not a good friend because you hang out with your brothers all the time. And I remember thinking about that, and I'm like, man, if I want to have a friend, and I want to like do, I have to reach out to people, and I can't just sit back at the dude at the bar and wait for people to come to me. Like, it doesn't work. And I realized long ago that, like, if you want to like have fun and you want to have great experiences, whatever, you just start with fucking putting yourself out there and saying yes. And you know what? Like, think about how many opportunities people are like, oh, hey, let's do this. And you're like, like Luke, hey, you want to go to Eggfest? Nah. And I'm like, I'll pay for it. Let's go. And then he went and he's like, I would have missed one of the best times of my life.
But I'll be the first one to admit that. And I tell that to Tex all the time. Like, on most of our trips, I'm like, fuck it. Let's just chill, man. I'm tired. And he's like, fuck, get off your ass. I'm like, okay. Yeah, you know, but the good thing I'm easy to fucking convince. Like, peer pressure is the bitch.
It's true. Like, I mean, you know, like, we had a dope place in California. We had a nice existence, and everything was all set up. And you know what we did? We said, fuck it. Get rid of it all.
Pull the ripcord.
Yeah, pull the ripcord. We're going to go. And fucking, after I spent 4 years rebuilding a house, literally to perfection, to what I liked, sold it and moved to a fucking place. Now I got to do it all over again. And like, dude, it's a shit ton of work. Like, I had no concept of how much work 16 acres would be, especially in Texas, which is a fucking weed. State's an entire weed. It just grows everything nonstop. It's a daily fist fight. Like, dude, like, and it just is nonstop. But you know what? Like, fuck it. Like, what else am I going to do? Sit at home and fucking watch TV all day? No.
Tempting.
No, I mean, dude, like it's added a new dimension of our lives, and like I'm excited for the opportunity. I'm fucking super excited for this new fucking building and having our own facility. I'm excited for all the fun shit, and you know what? Like, we're gonna be the change. And if you guys listen to this, which I'm sure Callie will cut most of this, but you know what? Like, fucking be the change, and you know, get on, because you know, we're gonna fucking steamroll this bitch.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen.
A second mic drop.
Mic drop number 2. Thank
Peace.
you for listening to the premier podcast in
strength
and conditioning. All right, people. Out. Bye.
Bye.
Now it's time for you to empower your performance. If John thought I was going to edit out some of those rants, he wrong. I thought they were appropriate and totally on point, because people get involved in fitness and training for a myriad of reasons. We don't have to agree with all of them. Do you agree, disagree, or have an innovative solution to stowing tennis balls? Well, get your rear to Austin, Texas, December 8th through 10th for the 2017 Power Athlete Symposium. Tickets can be found by going to www.powerathletehq.com/events. All seating arrangements will be based on personal preference.
John, are you just going to keep rubbing my foot all show, or what's the deal?
Until next time, bye!